Good afternoon, everybody. That's Eric. I'm Matt. This is 5v5 Live, and today is a special day. Today is start of preseason 2018.
Ooh.
Even though it's not 2018, it is still very much 2017.
Couple months left.
Good riddance, old League of Legends. Hello, brand new League of Legends with every champ being touched up a little bit in some way with their numbers, and then of course the whole rune system. I have not yet experimented. That's what tonight is for.
Yeah, and basically now champion select. You'll actually be doing stuff the whole time, sitting there tinkering with runes. They gave you some more time. Was it 15 seconds?
At the end, yeah.
At the end when everyone's been locked in. You probably need more time than that because I know I'm going to have to go through and read every single one when I'm picking them and be like, these all sound good.
And then they're not. But yeah, should be some interesting things. I know Predator Hecarim is roaming around there with that movement speed being converted into attack damage.
Yep.
So he'll just run into you and you're dead.
People trying out that Klepto, getting gold, pickpocketing gold. Yeah. Try that on everything. Why not?
You mean
free money's free money.
Who doesn't love free money? And of course, that stupid Zoe champ is out as well.
Is it Zoe? Isn't it Zoe?
I don't know. If your name is Zoe, I'm not thrilled about it.
Z-O-E. That is Zoe. That's not Zoe. You got to throw a Y in there.
Or at least an accent on the E.
Yeah, Zoe.
Something Zoe, yeah.
I'm just saying. Didn't you guys watch Zoe 101? She had a Y.
That was a great show. You're right.
No.
Taught me a lot about life.
That explains a lot.
It does.
Why your life is where it is.
Thank you, Eric.
Got him.
For telling everyone about how sad my life is in a nutshell. That's very nice.
No problem.
So there's that. There's all-star voting as well before we get into what we're going to talk about today. And of course, the people have come out and said, Mike Young, we love you. And right now he's leading the jungle voting. So keep throwing in votes. Eric and I screwed up. Yeah. We did not throw in votes because we're both idiots.
Not for Mike Young. I think we both voted for contracts.
Right, because he probably deserves to be there. But for the sake of memes and everything that is, Mike, don't call me Mike Young. Yeah, we would like to see him at All-Stars because it'd be very entertaining.
I would be excited to see him there. And also a pretty surprising one, well, not that surprising, is Afromu, leading support. Obviously, he's a very popular figure in the league scene. Definitely not the best support as of last split. So.
No, probably should be Ole.
Probably.
And then Bjergsen leading over Jensen. Hanser, first place in the top lane. And Sneaky over Doublelift in the bot lane.
Yeah, and even if Doublelift somehow takes over Sneaky, they don't show how close these votes actually are, which is interesting. But I feel like Hanser and Bjergsen are probably going to get in, so even if Doublelift passes Sneaky, it's probably going to be Sneaky anyways, because you can't have more than two from a team. So should be fun. That's going to be a fun event. I
mean, Doublelift said on Twitter he didn't want to go anyways, because to be fair, you play this entire season, and then you don't even get...
You want to break.
There's no prize pool at Worlds. So why do I want to go?
At All-Stars. There's a prize pool at Worlds.
Worlds is, All-Stars, nothing.
No.
So yeah, that's that. But today, we're going to speculate. We're going to look at some of the free agents available.
There's a lot. Spoiler.
There's a lot of guys available to be signed. Looking for new teams, maybe moving around the map a little bit. See ya EU, see ya Korea.
Bye.
Who knows? So Eric and I are going to go through each role, first off, and tell you who's available both domestically and via import. So we will let you know who might be available. And we're going to start in the top lane, believe it or not. Work our way down.
I believe that. That makes sense,
you believe
actually.
It? We're going to start in the top lane, and there's some interesting folks available.
Yeah, and obviously there are some guys who are currently on teams, but I mean, teams like Dignitas and Flyquest are teams that have already gone. I mean, the rosters are gone, so now you've got guys like Someday who are going to be available. Obviously, that's going to be a top prize pick for some team to have a guy like that going in. Huni, we don't really know what the future is for Huni.
No, he's a bit up in the air. Who knows if he's going to stay in Korea or come back to EU or anywhere where he had a good amount of success on Immortals and Fnatic. And then, of course, I mean, we saw last year pretty much a bunch of guys coming over from Korea, including people like Looper and whatnot. And as you see at the bottom there, Eric, 40% of starting top laners took up import slots in 2017 summer. Could be even higher percent in 2018 spring.
Yeah, there's a good chance when you're looking at the import side and the domestic side. Imports look a little bit better. They look a little more enticing. We do have Vizichachi on there, but he's probably rumored to be with Optic, which we'll get to later. But I mean, Zig and Seraph, probably the top guys you can get domestically. That's not great.
It's not ideal.
That's not great. Again, Huni, he might not even come to NA, but so Sumday's really the main guy here, as well as Flame, who I think some of these new teams coming in are really going to look at. And I think either one of those guys is probably worth a import slot because there's not that much talent in the top lane in NA.
Yeah, I mean, Zig is the guy, one guy domestically who kind of stands out. I know on Phoenix 1, it's hard to really show what you got when you're on a team that's struggling so much, but I mean, at one point he looked pretty strong, and he was the guy who brought out Kled first, kind of innovating that, and then that proceeded to get picked up across the world as well. So Zig's a guy I think you can pick up and be pretty okay with. I don't have much of a problem with him. And then you look at other people. Seraph had a very rough time with Envy, and then Quas and Solo are guys who we haven't really seen in a while. But they both have LCS experience, so I guess they're all potentially going to be picked up. But for me, probably Zig and potentially Seraph find themselves back on an LCS roster.
Yeah, I think Zig is the only one I can say pretty confidently out of the guys local to NA that'll probably find themselves on a starting roster heading into 2018. Quas, there's kind of a theme of some old Team Liquid guys who people have probably forgotten even existed or were still playing competitively. But yeah, Quas, he was at times great on Liquid. He fell off quite a bit.
He did. Well, that's top lane.
That's top lane.
So there's a good amount of import options.
Yeah.
Guys like Someday definitely want to be picked up. But top lane talent in North America?
And I mean, a lot of these guys like Hanser, Darshan are already on teams. Those are probably the other main go-to guys who are domestic NA top laners.
Yeah. So let's look in the jungle, which is probably the most stacked position when it comes to available guys.
Yep.
I mean, you're going to look at some of the people who are potentially being looked at as imports. Levi, Lyra, Carson, and then Dandy, who somehow is living on E United down the Challenger Series.
World champion! Dandy. Now playing, couldn't qualify for the NA LCS. But luckily, franchising's here, so we can get in anyway.
Yeah. And then domestically, one guy who's making a push is Santorin.
Yep.
He's been lighting up the Challenger Series, making a name for himself. People are rallying for him on Twitter as well to be back on an LCS team. Just like that, they're making that noise with a lot of characters, that extended characters, just a lot of O's.
Yeah, I mean, domestically, you look at that list, and that's pretty good. I mean, Smithy pretty much put forward that he was the best jungler in NA for much of this split. Mike Young burst onto the scene. What more can you say about Mike Young? He's a great young man. And Meteos is a guy who said he wants to look into playing again, and he's already been kind of looking at some opportunities. I mean, this is also a guy who was formerly the best jungler in NA. I think if he's interested in playing, he'll definitely have a spot on one of these 10 rosters. And yeah, even those imports, Levi, Lyra, definitely going to be on a team. And if Levi actually wants to leave the GPL, I don't see how some team wouldn't want to take a chance on him. And you see, there are 3 of the 6 playoff teams, 50%, I did that math very quickly, had an import in the jungle. So, I mean, a lot of these top teams don't have a local jungler.
Yeah, and but there are some guys available.
There definitely are.
So, I mean, if you're looking to fill a roster with some of these players, I think it's definitely a good option to maybe focus your direction at picking up a guy native to North America as your jungler, and then, you know, going for those imports in other positions that are definitely weaker off, like in the mid lane, which we're going to get to in a second, where the NA talent pool is just not there. So, I mean, picking up a guy like Meteos, who has proven himself in the past, is probably worth taking a chance on.
Oh,
if you think, you know, that he could potentially be in that veteran leadership, kind of a shot-calling role. If not, Mike Young, who's a very polite young man, as you said. That's definitely his best quality, over his impressive play that we saw at Rift Rivals and during the summer split for the most part. So there's guys you can take a look at in North America that might even trump some of this domestic talent who knows how Levi would perform in NA coming from the GPL if he were to come over.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be that issue of how much do teams weigh the communication issues that would come with a non-native English speaker coming onto the team. I know TSM has said that they value that communicative aspect a lot more than maybe just individual mechanics or skills, which means I find it hard to believe that they'd pick up someone like Karsa or Levi because that would bring some issues with the team.
Definitely would. Definitely. Let's get to the mid lane, where I already said there's not much available if you're
getting barren.
If you're domestic. They're not getting barren, but they are barren. Yes, that's right.
Nice.
Thank you. So, I mean, look, we've already heard some names being thrown around about guys who could come in. Power of Evil amongst that group. And then there's already a bunch of imports floating around. Ryu with Phoenix 1, Niski for Envy, and then some guys in the Challenger Series like Selfie, and you mentioned earlier some of these Team Liquid guys from earlier.
He's still around.
Phoenix is still there if you're really desperate. That's probably a terrible use of an import slot if you ask me, Eric. But
yes.
You look domestically, it's not a lot going on, but there's a couple names there who definitely deserve a spot.
Yeah, two. Pobelter and Keen. I mean, we got the question mark by Shifter. I don't think that he would actually come back to the LCS, but I mean, I think if he did, teams might give him a chance. Guy's a solo queue god, and he never really fully translated that skill set into the LCS when he was playing there. But I mean, especially when the list is this thin for domestic mid laners, I know mid's a pretty important role, and you usually want one of your best players playing that position. But I mean, I feel like Shifter could be a top 10 mid laner. Yeah,
and you need someone who can hold their own against Jensen and Bjergsen, basically, if you want to have a chance to take home that NA title. Pobelter can do it for sure. We've seen Keen do pretty well in the mid lane for Dignitas, who is now gone.
He's also had some
finished. Yeah, he's also, again,
bad moments.
Probably not someone who cracks the top 5 last split when it comes to NA mid laners. So Shifter's a guy who, at least in solo queue, has shown that he can definitely hold up on that level. So if you want to take a risk, or if he's even interested, give him a shot. But also, one other name that's not on this list, ManCloud. Earlier today saying that he'd like another shot at it. Someone
Blast from the past.
Spent a lot of time in North America. One of the best at one point in time, back in 2013 with Vulcan, or XDG, depending on which iteration you prefer. Definitely Vulcan.
Both.
You prefer both?
Yeah, he was good on both.
Yeah, he was. Then he was bad later.
I mean, I feel like even Shifter I might take over ManCloud. He hasn't played, neither of them have really played in a long time, but I feel like Shifter's a little more current as to his competitive career. But I mean, you look at that, and Pobelter is definitely going to be one of the most sought after free agents heading into this 2018 LCS season, just because of, not much mid lane talent going on from NA, and he's been to Worlds, he's won a couple LCS titles. I mean, this guy's good. He's not going to dominate a game like some of these other guys like a Jensen, but I mean, he won't get dominated by the likes of a Jensen. So I think he's a super solid mid laner to have, and a lot of these teams are going to be fighting over him.
Yeah, I'd back up your point by saying that he is the most sought after guy this offseason. I don't think anyone has more power than he does right now, because again, there's only so many domestic mid laners, pretty much 2.
Yep.
And Pobelter is one of them, unless someone comes out of that scouting grounds and makes a huge impact. But I don't see it.
And I think in history, you've seen NA used to have, they've kind of gone through a couple different cycles of what role they've excelled at.
Yeah.
A few years back, it used to be a lot of mid laners who were great in NA, when it was like ManCloud, who was super solid, when High was one of the top guys in the league. But now, there's basically no one. You look back at last split, it was Pobelter, High, Golden Glue.
Oh.
These are some of the guys who are domestic mid laners. It's pretty much, I mean, yes, Bjergsen is NA, but I mean, you've got all these guys coming in like Jensen, Froggen, Ryu, even Niski coming in. It's all these guys who aren't from NA that are showcasing that they're actually the best mid laners in NA.
Yeah.
So that cycle is just kind of going on now.
The era of Scar, Reginald, Nijaki, gone. See you.
Nijaki, wow.
Yeah, right.
This is a nostalgic episode.
NY Jackie.
NY. I still don't know which he preferred.
I don't know either. Let's hit 80 carry.
Let's hit it.
You ready, Eric?
Wait. Okay.
Okay, now we're ready. Interesting list. Obviously headlined by some fantastic looking imports like Sven. Forgiven.
Oh.
Everyone loves to see Forgiven. Arrow Freeze. White Lotus.
Oh, White Lotus.
Eric can't contain himself over that import rule. Man, that's some talent.
Yeah, listen, White Lotus is great. Had a lot of praise for him. Is he actually worth an import slot? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that. You look at that, We talked about mid, having a lot of import guys playing there. AD carry, one of the least imported roles in NA. That's kind of been the role where people have thrived the last couple of years. Basically, all the top guys are actually from NA. Sneaky, Double If, Stixay, all those guys. So maybe even with a guy like Cody Sun, he's for sure going to get on a roster. Apollo was super solid last year. So was Altec. So I don't know if outside of Sven, Forgiven, maybe Arrow. He kind of had an off split last year. Outside of them, I don't think bringing in an AD is worth taking up an import slot. Obviously, if you can get Sven and Mithy, you work your roster around that.
Yeah, you change everything to get those two guys. Yeah, I only probably see maybe 2 imports getting a spot because, again, as you mentioned, that AD carry champion or pool in North America.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good. And Cody Sun, Altec, Apollo, I'd be surprised if any of them were left off rosters come 2018. And
you like your boy Deftly.
He made noise in the Challenger Series. He made noise with EU United. A lot of people were impressed by what he had. So if not a LCS team, definitely a Challenger roster. But again, if you're already tied down to 2 imports, hello Optic Gaming.
Hello.
Then maybe domestically, you take a chance on a guy like Deftly, an unproven dude. Who knows? We'll see. But he's a guy to look out for.
Yeah, if Sven and Mithy are actually coming to NA, of course use a slot on them. Forgiven, if you're a new team,
risky.
If you're one of these new teams coming in with an empty roster, I mean, that is a guy who you're instantly getting a fan base. People hate him, people love him. But they're paying attention to him.
You watch
him, you want to see what he's up to, so that's a pretty good building block to have for your team. Maybe quickly you realize his toxicity isn't so great, and you don't want him on the roster, but either way, it's a good start. It's a good start.
It is a good start. But you need a support who can handle the flame.
That's tough to find.
Gotta be able to handle the fire. Otherwise, it's gonna get ugly, burned down real quick, and then Forgiven's off the team again.
You know, Forgiven and Mithy would be pretty cool.
Be interested.
Mithy could take the flame.
Mithy could give back the flame.
He would give back the flame. Maybe Sven and Mithy do get broken up. Maybe they don't stay together. Maybe you get a Forgiven Mithy bot lane.
I find it hard to believe, but you never know.
That'd be interesting. I'd like to see that. Because not many people could handle Forgiven. We kind of joked about Biofrost Forgiven bot lane.
Don't ruin the young man.
I don't want to put Bio through that.
No. I don't either. Finally, 1 position left. That is support.
That is.
Headlined, obviously, by Ole, who Immortals Gonzo. Ole is now available. We mentioned a couple other guys. Mithy. He's done. Well, not. He might be done with G2. He's a free agent. Open the offers.
He's looking around.
Sign the man. And Ignar also said on stream that he's potentially leaving Misfits.
Doesn't mean he's coming to NA.
No, could potentially be an LCK spot waiting for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then domestically, there's people. Adrian Hakuho was 2 guys who definitely probably earned a spot. I mean, when Adrian and Altec became a thing with Dignitas, it was like, wow, this team is all of a sudden quite amazing. So, who knows, maybe together as a duo they could form one of these newer teams.
Yeah, I think Adrian's been on some pretty solid teams, knows what it takes to win, not in the playoffs, but knows what it takes to win in the regular season, so I think he'll find a spot. And yeah, Hakuo showed himself, proved himself with Apollo, and especially a guy who's been around since season 1, basically. So any team looking for a veteran presence, and he was pretty solid on P1 last year, actually. You know, the problem is we keep saying everyone was pretty solid on P1, but they lost a lot, so they couldn't have been that solid.
No.
And we got Big.
We do have Big.
Wanted a 4th name.
Yeah, so we needed something to fill out the
so we put
that
Big.
black space there. So we put Big's name in because he was on a team and then he wasn't. He was replaced because he wasn't very good.
And you see that stat there. Not many teams prioritizing the support for an import slot, but Ole, well worth it. He wasn't in Spring Split.
No.
But he definitely was last split. And we got this whole list. We're not going to talk about Mad Life. Mad Life. He's got a gameplay named after him.
I don't know if you noticed, but he was in NA last year.
Oh.
On the Challenger Series with Cone United. No one knew. He
was playing in the same league as Dandy. Yeah, as you'd expect.
Of course.
The
and
NA
they were
Challenge.
Both kind of underwhelming. So. There you go.
I don't think any team's picking up Mad Life.
it's probably at this point in his career not worth it. Just like even a special, at least he's domestic. You wouldn't waste an import slot on a support player who's potentially washed up or not what he once was. A shell of his former self.
There you go. But yeah, because he's domestic, I could see Special maybe getting on a team. But I mean, Ole and Mithy, maybe Ignar. Maybe Ignar. But I feel like he might not come to NA.
Yeah.
I think any of those guys you use an import slot on.
100%. A little playmaking from the bot lane, or for Mithy even shot calling, pretty valuable.
I will say Ignar before Worlds, I don't think anyone would be like, oh my god, you got to import Ignar. You got to bring him into NA. He's got to go on an LCK team. Before Worlds, I don't think anyone's saying that. Then he puts up a great performance at Worlds, and it's totally different. So we'll see if he can keep up that standard of play that he set at Worlds.
Who knows? Now that we've got all those free agents out of the way, all the imports, all domestic guys, let's get to some roster discussion.
Yeah.
Starting with Double Lift and TSM, because on stream, Double Lift said
he's back.
He's back. Don't know how confirmed that is, but I mean, we know how many times Double Lift has leaked things on stream and been like, oh, wait, I just accidentally announced that this guy's our new jungler. This guy's our new mid laner. So if you want spoilers, keep an eye on Double Lift stream because it's probably the top spot to get some leaks.
At least this time it was about himself.
His own leak.
So he probably has a pretty good idea of what's going on. I don't think Reggie's going to throw a curveball and be like, ooh, actually, you're gone. So maybe that ends, doesn't end. They're still there, the Sven and Mithy rumors, but I think it makes it a little less likely. I don't think Double Lift would say that unless him and Reggie were on the same page.
Yeah, I'm with you. So it sounds like he's coming back.
Yeah.
Unless he's completely in the dark and Reggie's going to stab him in the back, which would be pretty nasty,
Be quite
pretty
a story.
dark. But I guess he's still got the competitive fire after yet another Worlds that didn't.
Don't want to end it on a sour note. Part 2.
He's going to be playing for years and years and years. A lot of sour notes, a lot more League of Legends.
Yeah, sometimes you need sour notes and a bit of music, you know?
Yeah, but that's not the only thing that TSM's got going on. If we take a look at their roster, they've got a few question marks, obviously headlined by Sven Skaren in the jungle. Is he going to come back? Probably not, in my opinion. And there's some guys who could replace him, Carson, Mike Young. Two guys that have already been linked. We discussed it previously. And then if Double is coming back, I imagine Biofrost will also be returning by his side, unless they want to go a completely different route, maybe split up the Sven Mithy bot lane, bring in Mithy.
That would be interesting, and maybe it is happening. Everyone's just kind of assuming they're a package deal, but maybe they're not so much a package deal. And yeah, I mean, there's got to be changes. I feel like with this team, 2 years in a row, can't get out of groups at Worlds. Sven Skaren is the obvious one. I think Hanser and Bjergsen are safe.
Yeah.
2 NA guys. Again, Bjergsen's not really NA, but now he is. He's NA. He's NA's adopted son. So those guys aren't taking up an import slot. They're staying for sure. Hanser, one of the best top laners. So those guys are safe. Biofrost should be safe unless you're getting Mithy.
Right. That's the one scenario where you can be like, yeah, I guess it makes sense to get rid of Biofrost if Mithy is the guy you're going to replace him with. So yeah, question mark means we don't know what's going on.
They might be moving.
But if there's no question mark, Eric and I believe that they're 100% safe. I just wouldn't see any reason to move the other two.
No. And I don't think the Karsa signing would be an answer.
No, I don't think so either.
I like Xmithy. I like Xmithy on TSM.
Makes a
I
lot
like
of
that
sense.
more than Mike Young. Bjergsen start doing with Xmithy. Get those rumors rolling. I feel like his play style just suits TSM more than Mike Young's because, again, Xmithy has shown that he directs the early game for Immortals and how they're playing, what the game plan is, and that is desperately what TSM needed at Worlds.
Was TSM's early game not good at Worlds?
There was no early game.
Yeah, they were behind.
They didn't connect till 20 minutes.
Might well have not.
Might well have not. That's right.
That's what people say nowadays.
Well put.
Thank you.
Hey, well.
I'm very fluent in English, in case you couldn't tell.
Yeah. We got other teams, right?
Yeah, we do.
Ooh.
Next up is Counterlogic Gaming, who I don't expect a ton of change, but obviously there's one position that kind of stands out from the rest of the team, and one that was kind of a late replacement after Dardoch was shipped back to Team Liquid because Team Liquid just...
No one wants him! How come no one wants me, man?
Maybe because you're rude, sir.
That might be true.
Maybe. But Omar God might be the guy who gives a short end of the stick. He wasn't very inspirational when it came to his play, especially in playoffs. CLG quickly ousted from that run to Worlds, the Gauntlet, everything. They looked pretty awful down the road. So he's really the only guy I can see replacing. I don't think you get upgrades on any other position. And again, this is CLG. This is the team of friendship. This is the team that stays together because, you know what, we're all friends. And if you hate someone, they get booted.
You know who's friendly?
Who's friendly? Mike Young's friendly.
Mike Young's a friendly guy. I think he would fit into team friendship.
I do too.
That's the one I like out of those potential signings there. I think he's much better suited for CLG as opposed to TSM. I think that aggressive style definitely helps CLG more, and I think they would let him do his thing. They would let him run wild in that jungle, as animals do in the jungle.
Because Mike Young is an animal.
He is an animal.
But you saw early on, even with Huhi and Dardoch, the combination really freed Huhi on the map because Dardoch was so aggressive. And it kind of let Huhi play his style rather than being on the back foot when Xmithy was a bit more of a defensive guy, at least on CLG. So I think getting another aggressive jungler like Mike Young makes a lot of sense. And Huhi, for me, is now the guy to play around on the CLG team. It might sound weird, but I do think he's the best player on this roster.
I mean, he definitely showed throughout the regular season. He only got better, and then in the playoffs, even the game CLG were losing, it was the total opposite of what you're used to seeing on CLG. It's like, oh God, they lost. Huhi, what are you doing? Now it's Huhi saying that to his team when they're losing games. What are you guys doing? I mean, that bottom lane of 6A and Afro was supposed to be one of the best in NA, and they struggled in a lot of these games. They were getting destroyed in some of these 2v2s, and Afro in particular had a very off split. By his standards. I expect him to be better in 2018 to bounce back, but I also said that coming into summer. And he didn't really. But, I mean, outside of that jungle spot, I think that's a pretty solid roster for CLG. And if they can fill that spot with someone like Mike Young, that's pretty great. Rainover would also be good.
Rainover kind of fits that style. He had a pretty rough split with Team Liquid, but again, Team Liquid is kind of a mess.
I think anyone would have had a rough split there.
And I mean, they tried a lot of junglers. They still have 3 roster junglers with
stockpiling those trade chips.
Something like that. So I mean, they don't need 3.
You sure?
Are
you sure there's not 2 academy teams?
Yeah, last time I checked.
Okay.
So I mean, Rainover is a guy that kind of makes sense with CLG too, someone who can pump the aggression and open up the map for his team. So I'm looking at one of those 2 guys. But again, they have import slots available, and who knows? Maybe the bot lane performance from last year kind of motivates management to make a change there, but I imagine they stick with Stixay Aframu.
There's a lot of new management there too.
Yeah.
With MSG and some other investors, so they'll be pushing for winning, I imagine. And if Omar God is their starting jungler, I'd be shocked.
Me too.
I would be shocked. Something's gonna happen there.
Something is gonna happen for sure. And again, the jungle pool is so vast.
It's vast.
There's definitely upgrades beyond Omar God.
It's an ocean of junglers.
That's right.
But Mike Young's at the top. He's floating. Scoop him up.
You don't let him drown, boys.
No.
Gotta save him. Let's get to the rest of these teams. We're not gonna do the NBA ones because God knows what's going on.
It'd be 5 question marks.
It'd be 5 question marks. The board would be very boring. It would not have any information on it.
Be a picture of LeBron James.
Yeah, that's the starting point. That's all we know.
Yeah.
So let's start with, I believe Cloud9 is up first. It is.
Wow, good guess. How'd you know?
And again, this team made a lot of noise at Worlds. They almost took down World Elite in that quarterfinal stage, and that tournament was so long for them too. They had to start in the play-ins. They had a very long game against Lion Gaming, and then in the group stage, barely made it out. Luckily, they avoided a tiebreaker to Edward Gaming, and then a good performance in the quarterfinals for Cloud9. I don't see a lot of change, and I potentially see no change. My only concern is if Impact decides to hang it up. I know he sent a couple tweets out saying how he's excited for next year and whatnot, and they still have Ray floating around on that roster too. Is he finally going to get the start? Are his issues gone? Does he still have them? I don't know. And then there's guys like Sunday floating around, and he's a much more stable option, probably more consistent than the 2 guys you have rostered.
Yeah, but someday, what makes Impact so great for this team is he'll sit there and play tanks every game, especially because contracts, more so than most junglers, not just in NA, but you saw it at Worlds around the world, likes to play more carry, more damage-focused junglers. So if you're bringing in Someday, who's another guy who likes to play these carry champions, then you just got 4 guys who want to play carry champions
Let 'em loose
on this squad. And Smoothie, you have to play Braum every game. Braum or Alistair every game because we have 4 squishies. So I think Impact just suits this team really well, and it is a lot of question marks. Is he coming back? Is Ray in a state of mind where he wants to be playing competitively or where he can be playing competitively? It's a lot of questions that we don't know the answers to. But I actually like Impact more than someone like Someday for this roster.
That's fair. One thing I want to mention is what's Someday's favorite champion? What's his best champion? The Maokai. He loves that Maokai.
No one's favorite champion is Maokai.
Maybe not favorite, but when he plays it, he makes it look like a carry champ. The things he does with Maokai, absurd. So he can play tanks, but yeah, you're right. He does prefer that carry style. So that would make C9 pretty top heavy with damage.
Yeah, that's where he excels too. It's when he can outshine other top laners is when he's on these split push carry type champions that you saw him take over games with Dignitas, and that could work for time to time with Cloud9, but their emphasis is other areas for that squad. So
yeah,
Impact's a good fit. But I mean, if Impact does leave, I'm sure it's easier to find a top laner who will sit up there and play tanks for you than someone who's going to be like Someday and want to carry these games. So even if they lose Impact, I think they'll be able to find a top laner to fill his role. Maybe not as well, definitely not as well, because Impact is pretty solid. But I think they could find something. Other than that, I think those other 4 spots are safe.
Yeah, C9 potentially no change. Keeping that same roster from year to year.
And they'll be a favorite. They're my favorite
At least
to win the split.
For spring split, 100%. If you don't make change, you're automatically a favorite.
Even if they change top.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
They're my favorite. Win that spring split.
They're Eric's favorite.
That's right.
You biased bastard, Eric. It's not very good. Before we get to the rest of the teams, send in your questions. We'll get to them after we hit these next couple rosters. But before that,
3 of them.
Team Liquid.
Team Liquid.
Boy, what a mess. Whew, what a mess. There's a lot of people on this team.
There's a lot of slashes, some question marks. Should have put some exclamation marks.
Yeah, and there's another jungler there too, Inori. We didn't even talk about Inori.
There's no room in the box.
No, there's no room in the box. There's no room on the team. They shouldn't have 3 junglers.
They shouldn't have. Do you potentially see a role swap? Right now we're going, what do they need? Maybe going mid? Maybe going top?
I don't know.
Going AD?
This is a mess. But like they just can't sit on the roster they have, right? They need to do something.
Well, that's what people said coming into the summer split, and they put out the same roster.
Yeah, but then they got a head start to the free agency period by getting Dardoch late in the summer split. Same with Mickey. And Mickey looked solid at points. Better than Golden Glue.
This is true.
And then
Golden Glue's a local boy, though.
He is a local boy. Everyone loves the local boys, Eric.
That's true.
Piglet is someone who he's had some up and down performances. In the mid, definitely down performances, but now
yeah,
he's
I mean, when you're
carry.
not playing your main role.
Is that bad?
I think you throw most guys who don't play mid in the mid lane in the LCS, they're probably going to get dumpstered.
Yeah. So, but who knows? They could make a swap there if they've had enough of trying to get Piglet going. And someone who kind of fits the role of Piglet very accurately would be forgiven.
Whew. Yeah, the thing is, that would be a great signing for Liquid probably. The old forgiven Dardoch dream could live on.
Yes.
The toxic, infamous toxicity team. But Forgiven wants to play for a winning team, I assume. That's kind of what he says all the time. Is Liquid a winning team?
They should be by now.
They'll get wins.
That definition is for a winning team.
That's my bold pick, is they will get some wins. But, I mean, this roster's a total mess. I mean, out of those junglers, who do you want to keep? You probably want to keep Rain over? Is that worth an import slot? Do you just keep Dardoch?
They seem to like Dardoch.
Well, he did come back for part 2. This roster, I mean, potential signings, we probably could have put 15 guys.
Oh, yeah, I just put 1 because
yeah,
there's a million dudes. You can dump the whole roster and start over if you wanted to. But they seem to like a lot of these guys. Matt and Lorlo have been around for a while now. Dardoch they brought back. Piglet's been floating around the scene for a long time, even though he was benched for a while and then came back.
Piglet was the best player last split for them.
Sure.
And most of the games they won was him on Caitlyn, 1v90.
Yeah.
So they got to change. I might take all those players off. I think you're gonna see a string of moves with Liquid where a lot of these guys are gonna be gone.
Fair enough. It's a mishmash. It's a clunky piece of garbage. I don't really know what's going on.
Clunky garbage. Wow.
Well, most garbage is clunky.
Is it?
I don't know.
I don't think so. You can have mushy.
This is fantastic.
Yeah. But Liquid, good luck. Good luck, Liquid.
Yeah. Daphne's rooting for you.
It'd be nice to see them back near the top of the standings. It's been a while.
Around 4th seems pretty appropriate.
Yep. It's been a while since they were there. Maybe the I will dominate era.
Yeah.
Remember Phoenix? We talked about Phoenix. Remember that quadra on his ear versus CLG?
Yeah. Remember
Phoenix was good for a bit.
Remember when Team Liquid finished 1st in the regular season split?
Whoa.
When Quas and Phoenix was on the team?
Yeah, Quas was sick. Dominate, they were good.
It was crazy.
It was a good team.
What a throwback that is.
And now
they suck.
they're not great.
No. All right, a few more teams. Echo Fox is up next. And this is kind of a similar boat. They've got a lot of players there.
Yeah, they've got their 2 rosters filled out. They got an academy
They're ready
team.
to go.
They got a main team. They're ready to roll.
Problem is, another team would be very good.
Yes, that is true. That's a lot of question marks.
Because I have a lot of questions there. And let's start down in the bot lane. Because I don't think Keith or Mash are someone you should be having as your starting AD carry, especially with a lot of potential talent, even domestically. Guys like Altec and Cody's son. I personally think that this is a great fit for the former Immortals bot lane of Cody's son and Ole. You immediately plug them in there with Froggen in the mid lane, Acadian in the jungle, and anyone up top. I think it's a very serviceable roster.
Yeah, well, you do that and Looper's out. Your import slots are gone. I don't really think Looper's worth one of those slots anyway, so that's fine. Acadian, he was super good when he first came in, and it was all these rookie junglers and newer junglers tearing it up in NA. Guys like Contracts and Acadian and Moon had a resurgence. It was all those guys tearing it up. This split, Contracts was still good.
Yep.
These other guys, not so much.
As soon as Acadian stepped into that sports car, it was over.
Listen, that video would ruin anyone's career. I'm surprised he still played games after that. So good for him for that. I felt bad for him when that aired because that couldn't have been his idea.
There's no way.
So I feel bad for him. But maybe you keep him, give him another chance. Again, it's an NA jungler that will help you out. Because Froggen, there's no question marks by that mid lane. Should DeMonte have a question mark? He's good, right?
Yeah, but I assume they're sticking with Froggen.
They're not moving Froggen.
No.
Rick Fox loves Froggen. So maybe you keep Acadian because you only have one import slot.
Yes.
Because Froggen stands. So maybe you keep Acadian, but yeah, that bot lane has gots to go.
It's gots to go.
Gotta go.
I mean, Gate's not even that bad. The guy can do a lot of different things.
At least Keith has to go.
And Mash.
Yes, neither of them should be started.
No.
Mash has been around for a while, man.
Let's just say
GGU.
Yeah, I know. He's been around for a long time. 2nd place finisher in Season 3, Spring.
That's right.
That's going back. But yeah,
Respect.
there's definitely upgrades over Keith and Mash.
And yeah, maybe these sub guys, Brandini, Grigne, DeMonte, are they going to be on the Academy roster for them?
Makes sense. I mean, Brandini honestly wasn't that bad when he got some starts. He had some solo kills. He looked like a guy who could potentially take over at some point.
Maybe if they're getting an import slot in the bottom lane, maybe Brandini's a starter. Give him a chance.
I'd give him a shot, potentially.
Why not?
Who knows? That's what I'm looking at for Echo Fox. But again, a lot going on. Busy like Team Liquid.
There's Liquid and Echo Fox have enough players for 4 teams. For 4 teams.
Yeah. But you know who has enough players for potentially no teams? That's Flyquest.
That's Flyquest.
Because, man, a lot of this team needs to move on. I didn't put question marks next to Moon or Turtle, but I mean, they could both potentially be gone too. But I think Wild Turtle's the one guy who probably, AD carry-wise, should be stuck on this team.
Yeah.
And look at that haircut, man. That is fancy.
He's looking pretty fresh.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not sure where he's looking. He didn't know where the camera was for this picture.
That's okay.
That's okay.
And potential signings, anyone, man.
Literally.
You need upgrades. Lemon Nation, his time has passed. Hi, I love the man. He's been good for so long. But just like Balls, they can find younger guys who are upgrades.
Yeah. Now, the Cloud9 nostalgia needs to go.
Yeah.
I mean...
You mean bringing Meteos?
Yeah, bringing Meteos. Yeah. Moon goes top. I feel like High or Lemon, maybe go into coaching. Get into coaching. They kind of had before. Lemon was working with C9. High worked with C9. Then he came back from his retirement. They've got to get out. We love him, but you got to go. Wild Turtle, yeah, he still can play. He's an NA guy. Moon had some questionable moments, but I feel like Flyquest as a whole was just a mess in summer. So I think you give Moon another chance. You keep him on the roster. And then Moon and Wild Turtle, that's not bad to start. You got 2 import slots you can use. Plenty of stuff Flyquest can do from there to get a decent roster going. You saw these free agents. There's plenty of guys out there. It's just a matter of how do you entice them to come play for Flyquest.
Yeah, now that being said, this team got off to an incredible start in summer, went into an incredible dip in summer, and then had an incredible run in the gauntlet.
Almost a miracle.
In summer. So, I mean, this team showed they can win games with the roster they have, which is barely serviceable in my opinion, and maybe you attribute that back to the old high shot calling meme or whatever. But nonetheless, I imagine this team is going to look a lot different in about a month's time.
And I think it will need to if they want to compete in the 2018 LCS, because I think it's going to be even more competitive than last split, and last split was probably the most competitive split in LCS history.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
It's only going to get spicier, especially with all this EU talent potentially coming in. Just raises the stakes.
Yeah, and you had good NA teams get dissolved. Immortals dead, Phoenix 1 gone, Envy had a decent split. Their entire roster up for grabs too.
I mean, yeah, of those 3 teams, you're probably looking at 12 or 13 guys that are definitely getting on a roster.
Yeah.
A lot of players.
A lot of players. So. Eric had to go up pitch for that one.
Yeah, it's because there's so many.
There's so many. Final team we're going to talk about. One that we wouldn't usually talk about because, you know, there's not a whole lot going on there. But because of one report in which some source said that Chachi and Hillisang are going to Optic Gaming, now we got to talk about it. And that's a pretty loaded team, Eric. Wow, look at that. Who's that unfilled guy? He's pretty good.
Yeah, wow. I didn't know he played 3 roles.
But here's a couple of things you look at. If that's the core, that's 2 EU guys that are already locking up the 2 import slots.
Going all NA, baby.
Now you need North American dudes. Who might you look at? Po Bolter.
Sure.
Clearly as a top mid laner. Xmithy to pair him with, you know, be someone who can play around, visit Chachi and Po Bolter. And then Optic is one of the most stable AD carries, in my opinion, who's available. I think that'd be a pretty solid team to start with if you're Optic Game.
The thing is, when you're bringing in these 2 guys, they're very familiar with each other. Sure, they played together for years. Original members of the Unicorns of Love. How are they going to have any synergy with any of these other guys? Whatever team, if this ends up being who Optic signs, this is going to be a weird team. It's going to have some not synergy, some random players that are coming together, unless there's, maybe you get 2 Immortals guys like Xmithy and Po Belter, but it's just going to be a mishmash. That's the word.
You're saying they signed MASH?
Yeah. They should sign Don't Mash Me, or just Mash, whatever he goes by nowadays. This is going to be a weird team because, it has to be 3 domestic guys if this is true, and it's just forced synergy. I hope these guys have more than a couple weeks before they head into the LCS if this is the roster they go with.
And this is why anyone in spring has a chance to kind of come out on top.
Yeah.
Because there's so many changes. Teams take time to come together. These new patches as well. You got to adapt pretty quick to your new team. The new Rift, the new preseason changes, all this stuff going to affect who wins the 2018 spring split. And if you got a fresh roster, it'll take time. So that's why 2018 is always the one to look out for. 2018 summer, always the split to look out for when it comes to how good are these teams actually.
Yeah.
Going to be a lot of strange looking teams. We didn't even mention 3 of them: the Rockets, the Cavs, the Warriors, or whatever the hell they're going to be called.
There's not even really rumors around them.
No, there's nothing.
So who knows what the heck they're going to do. It looks like there's enough players that are up in the air with the 7 teams that have some inkling of a rumor of what their roster is going to be going around them. That's 10 to 20 players on each of these 3 teams that you have no idea about. So that's bonkers.
We'll see. So that's what we got going on. We'll update those boards and whatnot as we learn things over the coming weeks. Again,
Sure,
players,
the rumors will be coming in hot.
Rumors will be coming in hot. Players can sign November 20th, I believe, maybe the 21st, one of those 2 days. So that's when it's going to really start flying. I don't think teams are going to waste much time getting their rosters locked down because the split starts January 20th.
Yeah, and with some of these guys going to All-Stars,
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically only a week.
It's only Mike Young going all this.
It's only Mike Young going. And it is in LA, which is pretty nice for the NA folks heading over. Don't have to go too far, but I'm thinking some of these teams are only going to have a week or two before they're starting the LCS, that they have these rosters completely finished and like ready to roll for the LCS season, because they still got the whole scouting grands to go through at the end of the month. Not to say many of those guys will probably make it onto a starting roster. There'll probably be more fill-ins on that academy team. But I mean, that's still fleshing out your roster in full, and that's going to take time. And December, they're basically going to have a month to finish these rosters.
Yeah, I mean, some of these teams literally just got announced, well, not even announced, but reportedly franchised. So as soon as, like a week ago, Warriors wake up, oh, we're in the franchise. Let's sign some eSports staff. Excuse me? You need staff still? Okay.
Well, we don't know anything.
And then you got to go get a roster together. So it's a quick process, quick turnaround.
And you're going to see some funky-looking teams. And I like funky. You know I love funk.
Eric's a big funk guy.
That's right.
Loves the 70s funk music, am I right?
Madhouse? More of that 80s funk, you know.
Oh, sorry.
More of that 80s funk.
All right.
Question time.
It's question time. Send them in. We're going to hit you with questions. Well, you're going to hit us with questions, and we're going to bat them back with our answers. That's right. Eric's going to make that noise every time he answers
every question. I don't know.
Might get old really quick.
Might get tired.
First off, first time Ergot, how many people are working at Shot Colors Esports? Wow, that's personal.
About 250.
Yeah?
No.
You knew that number exactly, huh?
Yeah. I know every individual employee. We're all very close.
Steve is a good guy.
Which Steve?
Steve H.
Yeah. Steve Harrington. Shout outs.
Yeah.
There's not 250. There's not very many of us.
No.
I'm going to say, keep it a little mysterious. Give the number between 4 and 10. You can guess which.
Wow.
Spooky, huh?
That's pretty mysterious,
yeah.
Eric.
You got to keep a bit of mystery.
Yeah. We can't give a full look into the ongoings here.
No.
Because next, you'll know our birthdays.
I just said Matt's birthday, but it was very quiet.
Wow. I'm honored that you know my birthday. That's you definitely don't. First time Ergot, again, is Piglet an import, Eric?
Now, this is where some of the things get complicated.
Oh, it's blurry.
Because Piglet, when he first came in, it was originally 2 years you had to play in the NA LCS to be considered not an import. But before those 2 years came up, Riot changed the rule and made it into a 4-year plan and some other things you had to do to officially be considered an import. But long story short, I believe Piglet is still an import, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
he's been there a very long time. These are the things we need to fully confirm, but I'm pretty sure he's still considered an import.
I believe that's correct, based on that.
Right, change the rule.
One of the few imports that is not an import anymore is Bjergsen.
Yeah.
He got in there early enough that he's...
Bjergsen and Santorin.
Yeah, Santorin is also NA.
Yeah, because they got in there early enough before they changed the rules. Some other guys who are considered NA residents, Crepo, Zhao Zhao.
Crepo.
Are these guys coming back, do you think?
Zhao Zhao.
Think he might come back?
He hasn't even been here for the past 2 years.
You never know.
Must be nice.
Must be nice.
Yeah, Zhao Zhao's coming back. They need NA mid laners. He's as North American as they get, let me tell you.
That's right. Yasuo God.
Yeah. Rockshare M has a question. Here's a question.
Here it is.
Is there any odds of NA teams signing some players from the lower EU teams like Vitality, Rocket, Splice, etc.? Splice has... Their entire team is up for grabs, apparently. They're all free agents. But the problem is, these import slots are so
like
important.
Gold!
It is like gold. I mean, if you waste them on some guys that don't work out, all of a sudden you're a bit behind the 8 ball, because not only do you have a bad player, but you have a bad player who could be taken up by someone from Korea, from EU, which has from time and time again shown that they're above the talent of some of the guys in North America. So to waste one of those spots on someone who doesn't pan out, not a good look. So if you look at people on Vitality and stuff like that, I just don't think it's worth the gamble if you can get someone who's obviously more proven. Someone like Ignar, Misfits, PoE, someone like that.
I think you've seen I think NA teams are more hesitant to take a risk on some of these lower tier EU teams as opposed to the LCK, just because the LCK is looked at as the greatest region in the world. It is the best region in the world. So, I mean, you saw guys come in like GBM, OQ, a bunch of different guys have come from Korea that definitely did not pan out, usually on the later ends of their career when they were kind of not so great. But it just seems like NA is more willing to take a chance on a Korean player than someone from EU. So I think unless it's some of this top talent in EU, I don't think they'll take the chance. Which, whether or not it's fair, I mean, you might get some mid-tier Korean mid laner, or you could get someone like Senkux. Maybe Senkux ends up being a lot better. But don't think they'll risk it, these NA teams.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think those lower team EU guys will get a look. They'll probably be floating around as Europe, and once all the good talent leaves in Europe, they'll be the top tier guys.
Maybe maybe H2K will blow up and Fevabin will bounce. I think a team might take a chance on him.
If that's a scenario where H2K does implode on themselves.
Yeah, and they just say, you know what, goodbye LCS. Goodbye League of Legends.
We don't like the changes. See you. Romeo Barnes, why would TSM get rid of Biofrost? Each team needs subs now. It's a requirement. I don't think they would get rid of Biofrost, but again, as you said earlier, like, there's one situation they would, and that's for Mythy. But yeah. I just don't think a guy like Biofrost would be thrilled with being pushed into a sub position. And if he was, teams would definitely come knocking on TSM's door being like, give us that North American boy.
That's exactly what they'd say.
That's a quote.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how exactly teams utilize these academy teams and how they can interact with other teams. Because, yeah, if you have a NA player, and even if you're replacing him with an import, there's no reason to just cut them when you need this academy team. So sure, if they get Mythy, of course they would just move Bio to that support spot and be like, sorry pal, suck it up. You're a nice kid. You'll get your chance again. So then, yeah, can teams ask? Be like, oh, we would like him. We would like him. And that's when trades come in. Are trades allowed? There's still a lot of question marks as to how this league is actually going to work. But obviously, before cutting someone, the first step would be just to demote them to that academy team.
Hide him in the basement.
Hide him in the basement. Give him some water and bread.
And that's it.
That's it.
That's all you need in the basement.
Yeah.
First time Ergot says Eric is cool. First of all, that offends me because my name is not next to you. But you should be thrilled, Eric. Congratulations. Oh, wow. And then,
that's very nice.
Is there any way a team can sign Pants Art Dragon or maybe Nidhogg? I think Pants Art Dragon is going to be a guy who's at the scouting grounds.
Scouting grounds?
I believe. So if he shows up, puts a good performance together.
Might get drafted.
Might get drafted. Wow, look at that. #1 overall draft pick in the 2018 NA LCS.
Scouting grounds draft pick round. Scouting grounds pick.
Now my question is, at the draft, who's the guy who walks out on stage to announce things and get booed inevitably before it starts?
Mark Merrill.
Someone's got to do the Roger Goodell
Brandon Beck
thing, you know.
Who
does everyone hate?
Who's everyone hate?
Someone in a Teemo costume?
Yeah, just the Teemo mascot. That'd probably do it.
Just so everyone can get their booing out of the way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a part of every single draft. I'm just saying.
Tyler 1, maybe. People love to hate him.
I think he'd get cheers. I don't know.
I think they'd boo him as like aha, we love you, boo. You know?
Who would someone in the league scene who would actually get booed if they walked on stage? I don't know if that exists.
I don't know if it does. It would have to be someone from Riot.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy who called Tyler 1 a
that would do it. Yeah. Oh, homunculus.
Homunculus. Whatever. That guy's long since fired, though.
Yeah, that could be a good option.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, we'll contact him and see what's up. Seth Vint, if you were C9, would you make any changes to the roster? If so, who would you swap and why? Eric likes the roster. I wouldn't make any changes either, but only if something happened in the top lane in which Impact was like, peace, or Ray was like, I want to play now.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, but I think Eric and I are both pretty happy with what they've got rocking right now.
Yeah, I mean, they had some issues during the summer split, but they basically cleaned those up during the playoffs and really rebounded during Worlds. And I think if they had been playing at that level in the NA LCS, they might have won the whole thing. So there's not that much they need to improve on roster-wise. I mean, outside of that top lane, those 4 guys, Sneaky and Smoothie, really stepped up. I think those are top 2 or 3 in NA at their positions. So there's no sense in having to move them around. And yeah, Impact, I think, fits that play style of the team super well. So if he's coming back, I think they're all right.
Yeah, he was doing a great job in that Worlds meta, supporting what Sinan was trying to do.
Yeah.
Which was get
Frontline.
Sneaky. Yeah, dude, that's all you got to do.
All you got.
Pretty good. So Impact in the tank meta, it's golden.
Great guys.
Great, that's right. Sasuke 7. Is there any chance TSM signs both Sven and Mithy and keeps Doublelift, creating a best man play scenario for the AD carry position? I don't think Doublelift and Sven could coexist.
That's a lot of ego.
And 2 guys that should definitely be starting.
Yeah, if you have those subs, 9 teams, maybe not 9, maybe 6 or 7 teams are knocking, going, give us one. You can't have both. Give us one. No, not fair. So again, how can other teams interact? I'm sure they'd throw a lot at TSM to try and get one of those guys. And I don't think Reggie and the organization would have that together, because there's competing for your spot, and then there's, I don't even know what that would be. And then what happens to Mr. Rallis?
Yeah.
Where's he go? Mr. Rallis.
It's just like having 2-star wide receivers on your team. You can't share the touches. You can't coexist.
It's a mess.
Someone's going to have to come out on top and get that starting job.
Well, it's even worse because they're like, you don't play this game.
Yeah, it's not even like...
You don't get touches. Sure, you get no touches. You also just don't play.
Yes.
Oh, that would not sit well with guys, I imagine.
That wouldn't be the best.
It's hard to make that subsystem work in League of Legends.
For it to work, you need to be 2 players, one with not a big ego or no ego whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then probably guys who just aren't at the level to be confirmed starters. So, Sven and Mithy, or Sven and Doublelift, I don't think they could coexist on TSM.
No.
Rockstar M, in your opinions, who would be the best player on the current teams to switch to a different role next year? Oh boy.
Current team to switch to a different role.
Yeah. Man, I think role switches are a time of the past.
You can't really do it anymore unless you have experience playing that role before, because most of the time, whatever your counterpart is, they've been playing that role for years.
Yeah.
You're not going to pick that up in a couple weeks, a couple months. You got to do a couple of years like they did. So yeah, anytime you role swap, I don't think it's going to work too well.
I mean, the only time you see it recently was when Origin was moving Xpeke around, because that team had so many holes that it had to plug all of them with different fingers, and Xpeke was the only peg they had. And it was a disaster, so to speak, as his support wasn't great, his AD carry wasn't great. Even his mid at that point had fallen off, and he was a team owner. Yeah. He had a lot of holes to fill, and he left all of them slightly unplugged. So
I think the only spot that it kind of works is in that bot lane, switching between AD and support, because whichever role you're playing, you know what your support should be doing as an AD. You know how they should be playing, and vice versa. It's still the same lane. You're kind of familiar with it. Obviously, there's still plenty of differences, but I mean, you look at a guy like Core JJ, who was the backward Ezreal king of NA, and now he's a world champion.
Yeah.
So maybe Afro goes back to AD. Maybe Afro and Stixxay switch.
0%.
There's always 1%. Always 1%.
I hate doing you 1%.
1%. But I don't see any role swaps happening. But if it did, it'd probably be in the bot lane somewhere.
It'd probably be some Team Liquid shenanigans.
Yeah, Piglet, you're on support.
He's back to mid.
Yeah, you're on support. Our best player, you're going to support. Matt's AD now.
Yeah.
This Matt.
It's me.
Subbing in.
I've definitely made a big improvement in my game.
Yeah.
Gravity, what do you think about the All-Star voting change, Eric? The old, you can't vote for people who haven't played for what percent of it, and then you can only vote for your own region kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it avoids the troll picks of...
there's still some weird stuff going on.
There were some interesting ones. Brandini, I didn't think he would have played 20%.
Yeah,
Liquid has 3 junglers you could pick.
All above Shrimp in voting.
Yeah, where's the love for Shrimp, man? He is not the 12th best jungler from last split. He should be much higher up than that. I'm not a huge fan that you only get 1 vote. I get that the voting period is very short, but I would like more than 1, because that's too much pressure. I just randomly picked 5 and pressed it, and I was like, wow, I should have thought about this more.
I screwed mine up real bad.
Yeah, I didn't vote for Mike Young. Big mistake. Big mistake. So I don't like the 1 vote type thing. The 20% I'm fine with. It would be cool to vote for EU, at least. I think you should be able to vote for every region, because some people pay attention closely to every region.
There are people in NA that only watch EU, stuff like that. So
you should be able to vote for every region.
At least have it weighed less. I thought that was the original change. Was that?
Yeah,
you could vote for other regions, but it would just be weighed less.
Yeah, I spent a long time trying to figure out how to vote for other ones, and ultimately gave up. I guess it's not a thing.
Feels
should
bad,
be able
man.
to vote for every region. It's a global game, man.
That's right. I want to vote for the president of South Korea, if that's a thing. Is that
you want him to play?
Well, I meant, in general. In
oh,
politics.
I see. You want to vote on. You want to be part of democracy.
That's how this works, right?
Yeah, that's how it works.
We're in the earth together.
I was gonna say I don't think he's played 20% of the games.
Who knows? Maybe he has.
Maybe he subbed in.
Master Swayking, in your opinion, what team is going to win the 2018 spring split? I know Eric's prediction.
I like C9. I think they go through the least roster changes. They look like the strongest NA team at Worlds.
Yep.
I think if they can figure out this whole new beginning to Season 8 with all these different runes and what the different meta is, I like their chances for spring.
I agree. It's so hard for a new team to come in with a fresh roster and actually perform incredibly throughout the entirety of it. I mean, come playoffs, things can change and teams can get everything together, but right off the bat, you have to go with a team that's probably going to be the most together, stay the same, and that's Cloud9. So I'm with you, Eric. As of right now, I think Cloud9 is the favorites. That can change based on some of these rosters that we see coming together.
I wouldn't be surprised if one of these new teams, one of the NBA teams or Optic, put together a kind of makeshift roster and go on a bit of run like Flyquest did last spring and get into the playoffs. But once you get into these best of series, I mean, these new teams are going to be used to best of ones.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll have a lot of veteran players on there, but I mean, in these best of series is when these more experienced and comfortable, more synergistic teams will come out ahead, like C9 and of course TSM.
Yeah, we're gonna see a super team like we did back when Immortals first burst onto the scene with that Huni Rainover squad that made some noise. So I would be surprised if we didn't see. I'd be surprised if we didn't see something like that come about. But I don't think they're gonna win. Just like Immortals fell flat
on their faces.
On their faces. Jacob Dean, how do you think that the new teams, especially those who are new to the league, will be able to compete against more stable teams like TSM and C9? Again, like Eric and I just said, it's so hard in a limited time frame to be able to perform with a brand new roster. Players have never played together before, especially if there's communication issues. If players come from Korea and don't have that English ability, it's tough to get on the same page. And you've seen even entire splits, entire years almost, it took some of these imports to get on the same page with their teams. So it's interesting. Dignitas is a prime example from last split. With Someday, man, that team was bad for a while. Then all of a sudden, mid-split, seems like they just clicked. They'd made a couple changes and turned around. So some rosters click right away. Some take a lot of time. Some never come together.
Some never come together. I think the key for these newer squads is going to be to have. They got to get some veteran guys on those teams. They can't just import guys and then have a bunch of newer young blood on the roster because they're just not experienced organizations when it comes to esports.
Yeah.
Sure, they're familiar with other sports and the competitiveness that goes on, but esports is totally different. I know they're obviously going to be hiring staff to be a part of that, but they need some guys that have been part of competitive league for a couple of years on that roster, either in their coaching staff or a couple of veterans on that team that knows how the system works and how you play.
100%, right?
It's important.
It is important. Justin Reese, how many teams are returning? There are only 6.
Six teams are returning. 4 brand new ones. 3 of them have empty rosters. Optic has a couple rumblings of some UOL guys.
Yeah. TSM, CLG, Cloud9, Team Liquid, Echo Fox, Flyquest. There you go.
Look at him, just ranting them off. Impressive.
Wasn't bad.
But not that impressive.
Oh, thanks, Eric. Yeah. Jacob Dean, what's the likelihood that we have another split of TSM, C9, and CLG being 3 of the 4 semifinal teams? Interesting question.
Probably a pretty good chance.
I wanna wait and see the rosters.
We got to see the rosters.
Put together.
I'm pretty confident C9 will get there. I'm pretty confident TSM will get there. It's even that spring split with Yellow Star and Double Lift when they had a poopy regular season. They were 1 game away from winning that LCS title. So they always turn around come playoffs, even if they struggle in the regular split. CLG, I mean, in theory, they should be a pretty good team.
Yeah, but in theory, they should do a lot of things, and they don't because they're CLG.
That's true. They are Counter Logic. It's a great name.
The meme never shakes, man.
I mean, they made the meme themselves for their name. But it depends on, who that jungler they get is. If they stick with Omar God, maybe they're not in that semifinal. Maybe not. But I think there's I'm going to say there's a 60% chance that all three of them are there.
It's a good percent.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll give it 40. I'll take the other side.
What a joke. This guy.
That's pretty rude, Eric. Last question of the day, unless anyone has something urgent they need to get to us.
Eric's not urgent.
Or not. I guess it doesn't have to be that
just
important.
Anything.
Yeah. Not anything. Let's keep it limited.
Sorry.
Janro Botha wants to know,
okay.
How do you think the KT roster team will look? And this is another one. Because, man, KT roster, what a mess. Shouldn't be a mess. It's a super team, man.
That's a super team.
The one thing that didn't happen was they weren't very super, especially when it mattered most. 3 chances to get the Worlds, 3 failures. They're going to change something because you can't put a super team together and then not make it to the big tournament at the end of the year.
Here's what would be interesting.
Hit me.
In other professional sports teams, they have luxury taxes in some of them where if you go over your salary cap, you have to pay a tax on top of that. Maybe NA LCS implements a luxury tax for having more than 2 imports. So maybe the Golden State Warriors just take the entire KT team, pay a whack of taxes to go over, and just bring them over to NA. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah, my question to you is, why did you pick the Golden State Warriors, Eric? Is that a reference to something?
If there was a team that would just pay a bunch of money for a sweet team, I think it might be the Warriors. It'd be one of these NBA teams.
That's an interesting guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting guess. But that would be very fun. Don't think Riot would ever do that because then every team would just pay that tax and they'd break the league.
It would be a lot of Korean and Chinese people floating around.
Yes. I think KT, that roster is done, which is a shame. I feel like you put that roster together again, they probably get to Worlds. Unless it's a mental block.
Yeah, again, they're still fairly new rosters, so you can't just put a bunch of star players together and expect the best results.
And they did look great at times.
Yeah.
You give them another year, I'd be shocked if they didn't make Worlds again. So, give them another chance, but I don't think the players or that organization have the patience for that.
No.
Got to turn these around quickly, man.
You need results.
Results, results, results. The 3 R's.
All right. It took me a while to process that. That's
it's a pretty complicated one.
Yeah, it's what a mantra that is.
Yeah,
should get a tattoo.
I live by it. I do. Can't show it on camera though.
Nice. Eric, a very results-driven guy.
That's right.
One more order of business before we shut down shop.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Before we shut up. Shut up.
DX Racer. Shout out to them. Great chairs, very comfy. Look at this lumbar support.
Yeah, look at this. I don't have a lumbar.
You don't need it because Eric's lumbar.
Because my lumbar is perfect.
Sublime.
Matt's is that of a 85-year-old man.
How'd you know? You have the age exact.
That's right.
Yeah, 85-year-old man, but 50% off with the code SHOTCALLERS. Use that promo code on dxracer.com for one of these chairs. If your back sucks,
like yours,
you can use the lumbar.
Yeah.
If it doesn't suck, like Eric's,
you got options.
You got options. You can take it up. You can
headrest, lumbar, neither. Headrest, no lumbar. Lumbar, no headrest.
You can take it way back too.
Yeah, you can move it. Watch out for Daphne!
See it? We're going down. Oh, Daphne. Sorry, Daphne.
I told you to watch out for her, and you still just took her down.
She was in the way.
That's very
It was a demonstration.
She's going to come back and haunt you. She's
did it for the people at home.
Look at how angry she is. You can see it in her eyes.
Yeah, you can. Look at them we cut off her head.
Oh,
All right, let's shut up, as I said earlier.
Spoilers, the mannequin has no head.
It's time to go.
Abort! Abort!
Abort. We'll be back Monday with Get Boosted, probably talking some All-Stars, maybe some different patch stuff.
There'll be some rumors that have happened by then.
Some rumors. Sure. More productive stuff than headless mannequins, I'm sure.
Matt's going to go apologize to Daphne as soon as the show ends.
That's right.
So we shut up.
3 p.m. on Monday. We will be back. And other than that, enjoy the new changes. Explore that preseason. Let us know what runes are good. And we will see you later.
And remember, ranked doesn't mean as much right now. So just be happy. No flame.
Have fun.
No flame. Have fun playing ranked.
There you go. Have fun. Have a good weekend, everybody.